I'm Amber Tresca, and this is About IBD. I'm a medical writer and patient educator who lives with a J-pouch due to ulcerative colitis. It's my mission to educate people living with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis about their disease and to bring awareness to the patient journey. Welcome to episode 132. Have you ever needed to use the bathroom in the middle of a movie? Even if you don't live with an inflammatory bowel disease, you have probably had this experience. Of course, I'm no stranger to needing a bathroom at the theater, but I really love movies and I don't like to miss anything, especially if I've had to hire a babysitter in order to get out of the house. That's where RunPee comes in. RunPee is an app that I've used for years, which tells me the best time to get up during a movie to head to the ladies' room. But that's not all. The app gives movie ratings, reviews, and a feature that's really crucial to me, which is if there are any extra scenes after the credits. My guest is Dan Gardner, who is the creator of RunPee. Dan shares some behind-the-scenes information about the app and how he and his staff determine the best times for bathroom breaks during movies. Plus, you'll learn about our guilty pleasure movies and which films he gave A++ ratings. Dan, thank you so much for coming on About IBD. I'm really excited to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to talk about this.
Yeah, I have been a lover of your app for a very long time. And so that's why I asked you to come on the show. And I want everybody to use it. I want everybody to know about it. But first, let's start by having you introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Dan Gardner. I'm the founder of the RunPee app, the app that tells you the best time to run and pee during a movie so that you don't miss the best scenes.
I love that. Truly, RunPee has changed my life. So I'm excited to hear more about how you came up with it and how this all got going. And I saw that you first worked in software development. So this makes sense that you would develop an app. Mm-hmm. But why RunPee? What's behind the development of this particular app?
So when I started RunPee, and I think anybody in their right mind, if they came to you and said, hey, listen, I'm going to build this app. It's going to tell people the best time to pee during a movie so don't miss the best scenes. And it's going to change my life. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to buy a car. It just doesn't sound like the thing that's going to make money. Mm-hmm. And, it hasn't made a ton, but, it has been my primary source of income now for about 10 years between 2010 and 20. And something happened in 2020. What was it? All right, the pandemic. Yeah. The pandemic was not good for business.
Sometimes when I'm watching a movie that I'm not using the RunPee app, I might be at home or wherever, and I think to myself, where would I put a peetime in this movie? And often I just really don't know. Can you take me through that process? How do you choose a peetime? You're working while you're watching this movie, so you have to not get lost in the movie. How does that all work?
Really good question. So to answer the first question, we always sit in the back right corner of the movie theater. Because if you picture this, I'm holding my phone in my left hand. I'm writing with my right hand. Mm-hmm. And I can kind of use my phone as a little bit of a light. So even if you're sitting next to me, you won't really be disturbed. And I usually have that seat reserved as well. But I don't want to disturb anybody, so I'm not shining a light in their eyes or anything. And I also turn it down. It's a black screen with dimly. I just need to basically see where the lines are so I can not run off the page and stuff. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we're watching the movie. We usually start around 15 minutes into the movie. We start looking for our first pee time. We'd like to find a pee time between about 15 and 30 minutes because if you sit through the trailers, which a lot of people want to see that, and we go to the 30-minute mark. Well, that's 50-ish minutes that you've been holding it. And that's about time for some people. So we're looking for our early pee time. Now, if we have to, we'll make an emergency pee time. Mm-hmm. And so obviously not all pee times are created equally. Sometimes you're in a scene and it's like, oh, this is great. They're moving from one place to another. We're seeing this long transition of driving or something like that. There's not a lot of dialogue. There's no No new characters are introduced, which is usually the hardest thing about the first pee time is early in the movie, you're meeting the new characters. It's like, oh, I've got a good pee time here. I'm a minute and a half. I'm at 2 minutes and, oh, new character. Well, crap. Scratch that out and start looking again because you can't introduce them in a pee time. So that's generally what we're looking for. And if we have to, we'll say like, okay, there just isn't a good pee time before 30 minutes. So here's this one, it's 3.5 minutes long. Unfortunately, a new character is introduced. We think this is an emergency pee time. Like, don't use this unless you have to use it. We try to find one recommended pee time in each movie.
Right. As you were explaining that, I'm thinking to myself, has anyone ever approached you? Has a filmmaker ever approached you and said, I disagree with a pee time, or why are you segmenting my movie in this way? Have you ever gotten any feedback like that?
I haven't. I've been really curious because I do know that some Hollywood people, so I know Anne Hathaway uses the app. I can't say I know that she uses it now, but I know she's spoken publicly about it. And she, in the process of talking about it, she mentioned it to Hugh Jackman. And Rashida Jones was interviewed once in, I think, Variety. And they have a full page picture of her in this little bubble. And the bubble says, my favorite app is the RunPee app. And oh my God, did we get downloads from that. So I know a lot of people in Hollywood do use it.
That's amazing. And you have no connection?
None.
People who live with digestive or urinary conditions, for example, may at times withhold food and drink in order to not have to go to the bathroom. I mean, I wish you had been around for the days of The Lord of the Rings, because I saw those movies dozens of times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would come out of it sometimes and be like, 3-hour movie, made it through, didn't have to get up once, you know, but I had to manage my, what I was eating and drinking beforehand. So to not have to do that is really it's just a better experience. Nobody needs to be not eating or not drinking.
Right.
Because they want to enjoy a film.
Yeah. Speaking of Lord of the Rings and Peter Jackson, the director, it was actually in 2005, his remake of King Kong, which was a 3-hour movie. That was my inspiration, my personal experience with nearly having a burst bladder, because I did not get up to use the restroom. And I had to go so bad at the end of the movie. That's all I could think about it. It ruined the end of the movie for me.
Yeah.
And as we were leaving, it's opening, the first showing, opening day, there's a bunch of people waiting to see the next showing. And I'm tempted to tell them, hey, listen, in the middle of the movie, there's the scene with some bugs. It's really gross. Perfect time. Run to the restroom. You can take care of yourself, come back and enjoy the last half of the movie in comfort. And, okay, I'm not going to, first I had to pee really bad. So I'm not going to stop and tell a story. And, I'm not going to tell strangers in line. But I'm like, I'm an app developer. I think I could make a website for this. So, that was 2005. Shortly after that, I got a job with Microsoft working at the Xbox division. And that kind of kept me busy for a few years. And then whenever I quit Xbox to become a freelance developer, that's when I'm like, I need to build up my portfolio. Literally, I wasn't working. I had time. I'm like, I've been kicking this RunPee thing around. I'll just build that. And I spent 3 months, knocked it out, learned a ton, and here we are.
I want you to tell me, though, more about what's in the app, and then also the other stuff that you have online, because you still maintain the website. You also have a Discord server. Yeah. One of my favorite parts of the RunPee app, and I will say, I turn it on every time we go to the theater, every time we go to a movie, but I don't always need to use the pee times. But something that I do use every single time is whether or not there is
Mhm.
something after the credits. So that's my
Yes.
favorite thing. But can you take me through some of the other offerings that are within the app and then on your website as well?
Right. Well, we do tell people if there's anything extra, and there are other services out there. There's another app that's crowdsourced that will let you know, but they give you a thumbs up and thumbs down. And we watch all these movies, and so, for instance, in Ant-Man, Quantumania.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And people have been trained. We know there are extra scenes. But some people still get confused that there could be more than one.
Mm-hmm.
So in Quantumania, there's a mid-credit at about 2.5 minutes. And so we tell people about 2.5 minutes into the credits, there's an extra scene that goes on for 1.5 minutes. We don't tell you what it is. We're not going to spoil it for you. We will let you know if we think that it's of any interest to see. So every now and then, if there's just a really brief, like you don't need to wait 10 minutes to see this 20-second extra, we'll just tell you what it was and you can decide. But yeah, there was that. And then you've got a long credit sequence. And then at the very end of the credits, there's another extra scene that is really important to the entire phase 5 of the MCU. And we were the only people left in the theater for the last scene. Like, guys, what you doing? There's another. Okay, whatever. You go. You'll find about it on YouTube later. One other thing we do with that is, and that's the only place we ask for your birth date and we ask your age and your gender. And the reason we do that is we can also display information to you about your demographic. So you being, a Gen Xer, I'm not going to out you exactly, but you being a Gen Xer, a woman, if you're going to go see a movie and you go see the IMDb rating is like a 6.1, it's like, ew, that's not very good. You can go to the RunPee app and go like, oh, you know what? There was a bunch of teenagers that probably voted this movie down. I'm not a teenager. I'm a mature woman. And oh, look at this. Mature women around my age, they rated this movie a 7.8. Okay, that's a pretty good number. I think I'm going to go see this movie. So that we break it down by people around your age and your gender so you can see if there's a difference. And there's often a little bit of a movement there.
Dan, you bring up a good point, because this is something that I've thought about over the years, especially in the pre-IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes or what have you. You'd get like a magazine, like you'd get Entertainment Magazine.
Yeah.
And somebody will have reviewed a movie. I don't think I've ever gone to see a movie or decided not to see a movie based on a written review by a person that I don't know. But in any case, every so often you would have a person, for instance, going to see a sci-fi movie, and it is very clear that that person just does not like sci-fi movies. So then why are they reviewing it?
Right. We also write movie reviews. And so this is something we've learned that's very important, is it's very hard to do peetimes for a movie that's outside of your genre. So, for instance, I do not like horror movies. Fortunately, I've got a wacky, crazy sister who loves them, and she does the peetimes for all of the horror movies. And there's been an occasion where she's had to miss for illness or whatever, and I'm stuck seeing a horror movie, and I'm literally like, I don't like this genre. Like, I think this is a good peetime, but I don't know what. So we do keep the target audience in mind as best we can.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I think before I had RunPee, I think that there were usually times that I would go to the bathroom, and this is going to be a funny thing to say, but like a love scene, like somewhere around the middle of the movie. If there's a love story in the movie, there's a love scene, and it doesn't always necessarily move the plot along. So I would be like, okay, this is my chance. Now I'm going to go to the bathroom.
This is your music montage moment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are our favorites.
Yeah.
Here's a music montage. Yes. Please keep it going. Keep it going. So
it makes it very easy. Yeah.
Yeah. How long are peetimes? You can subscribe and you can buy the Infinity P coin. If you really love us, you want to support us. The Infinity P coin is not cheap. It's $50, but it gives you full access to everything for a lifetime. And honestly, I've had people buy the Infinity P coin and send me money, on PayPal and stuff. So, but anyways, that's completely voluntarily if you want to do that. But for those users, we know that that's our core audience and we trust them. So I put in a button on the synopsis screen because it tells you what you missed. Then would say, can you press this button when you sit back down? And we will track that so we can kind of get a general idea on how long does it take people to go. And so from our data that we got back, we determined that it's right around 2 minutes and about 40 seconds is the peak of when people can run to the restroom and back. And so, we try very hard to keep our pee times at least 3 minutes long. Sometimes we can't quite get there and it's just dependent on the movie. But, we try to go 3 and preferably closer to 4 minutes in that range so that, if you had to go number 2, you might make it back before the pee time ends, but, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Better than nothing. And I've been known to run. I've been known to run through the lobby.
Yeah. So an important point
to
is
use the bathroom and get back.
Yeah, always know where the restroom is.
Yeah. Well, my audience for sure knows where the restroom is in every place they go. And I've chosen movie theaters based. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have a choice of where I go to see a movie and actually which chain I would like to go to. And for sure, I will choose the one that has the easier to access bathroom that I don't have to then go back through the ticket taker, for instance.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's too common anymore. But when I was a teenager and I was diagnosed young, so I was living with chronic diarrhea as a teenager, having to get up, go to the bathroom, and then be like, I just came out of theater 4 or whatever, let me back in, like the worst, like the absolute worst. Like, I don't even understand why they make it so difficult in the first place. It's gotten better.
Yeah.
But also that there really is no, like people's bio breaks are just not taken into account at all. Like, you get your drink and then for a quarter more you can have, and I'm like, no, because I will have to pee.
Yeah.
An hour into this movie. Like, it's just silly. They're selling you all of the liquid, but not making it easy for you to go to the bathroom at all.
I would be delighted if someday a director who knew about RunPee added a pee time. They'd like, okay, you know what? We're just going to stretch, we know that there's going to be pee times. So let's just make this music montage, stretch it out an extra 45 seconds. Nobody's going to complain. It's going to be easy breezy. That would tell me that I've arrived.
Dan, when you go to parties,
what
do you tell people that you do for a living?
Oh man, so there's definitely times I avoid talking about RunPee, because it's gonna become the topic of conversation.
Yes.
For the next 5 minutes, and sometimes it just doesn't feel appropriate, or sometimes I'm just like, I just don't. I don't want to go here again. I've done this, and so it kind of depends on my mood and stuff. Usually it's a friend who's like, oh my God, you got to tell them what you do.
Oh.
I'm usually introduced, hey, this is Dan. Oh yeah, he did that app I told you about, RunPee. And then the questions start. Yeah. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me about the RunPee app.
Oh, that's never happened?
I've met lots of people who've used it, but I've never been in a conversation talking about movies and had somebody like, oh, hey, I've got to tell you about this app called RunPee. I'm still just waiting for that. That's going to be like I'm just going to soak it up. I'm going to ask them questions. Oh, like, can you show it to me? And so so obviously I've thought about this. I'm going to be like, oh, can you show it to me? And have them pull it out and like, oh, show me the pee times, and I'll pick a movie that I've done. And so when we do the P times, it's got the person. It's got a little headshot of like me or my sister or whoever did the P times for the movie. Because it's me and my sister who do the majority of them.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, huh, that guy looks just like me. And he's got my name. Like, I'm just like dreaming of this day that I get to, get to do that. But not yet.
That's hilarious. Well, it would be really good market research, to have somebody take you through the app with them not knowing that you created the app.
Yeah, I actually intend on doing some of that here really soon. So one of the great things, and something I think that there's anybody out there who's developing anything, a super important key is make it very easy for people to get in touch with you.
Yeah.
So if you're using the RunPee app, and so, for instance, anything extra, this is annoying, but sometimes there's extras at some theaters, but not others.
Oh. So
we see a movie, there was nothing extra. And this is rare, but it does happen. Like it just happened to a movie about a month ago. And we get a user who's like, there was an extra scene. And so we go back into the app, it's like, okay, so it's not consistent. And we can't do anything about that, but there might be an extra scene in this one. But there's a button right there to send me an email. And in the app, it just, lets you populate it. It tells me which movie they selected. Are they looking for anything extra? All that's in there. If you've gone to the restroom and you're reading the synopsis about what happens, there's a button right there. It says, do you have any feedback? And you can click it right there and say like, hey, this is a great P time. Thank you.
Well, that does bring me to my next question, though, because I can imagine that there are so many things that you can add to this app. You're probably hearing from people every single day who are saying, hey, can you put this in? Can you put that in? Do you have any new features that you're thinking about, or are you looking to crowdsource anything right now?
Yeah, we've got the poll, and that's crowdsourcing. People have occasionally said like, oh, you should crowdsource the P times. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work. We actually tried that right off the bat. And what we get is 99%, oh, this movie sucked. You can just go pee anytime. And, I'm going to be honest. It was all men. No woman has ever emailed us that. But yeah, a lot of men, oh, this movie sucked. You should just go any old time. Like, we have to be respectful. No matter how bad a movie is, someone's going to love it.
Yes.
And so we do our very best to look out for that person, depending on what the genre is. What are they going to not want to miss? And surprisingly, as subjective as you might think this is, we get very little pushback on the P times that we choose. Now, we do get some, and we make it super easy for people to let us know, was this a bad choice? But we could really count not more than one email a month, I think, that is a negative, like, no, that wasn't a good P time. And they, if they explain it well, why, and sometimes like 3 minutes before this would have been better, that can be helpful. And sometimes we agree with them. It's like, yeah, this P time sucked, but this movie just didn't have a good P time to it, and you asked something earlier that I completely forgot about. It does happen every now and then that I get wrapped up in a movie and kind of forget. It happened in A Man Named Otto. I really got wrapped up in the movie for a little while and forgot that I was doing P times. Yeah, it's rare, but that's a good movie.
I've never heard of it.
Oh, that's the Tom Hanks movie.
Oh, okay.
I gave it an A++. We get to give one A++ review rating a year for the staff here. And that was the first movie I saw this year. It came out in early January, and I'm like, well, that's it. Here's the best movie of the year. It's the first one I saw. I can't give the A++ again. Last year, it was Maverick. I saw Maverick and was completely floored. Everybody was. It's actually the third highest rated movie ever in the RunPee app, People's Poll. And it's just behind Avengers, Endgame, and Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, interesting.
So Maverick blew everybody away. Yeah.
I have to tell you something, Dan. I still haven't seen Maverick.
It's just a good movie. It was just a pleasure to see a movie that is it's full of so many tropes, the jockey, the hotshot fighter pilot and aged and this and that. And it's like, from a writing standpoint, they made the right decision. Just one scene after another. And Tom Cruise was phenomenal. I'm really impressed with his work.
Yeah, over the years, he is in some of my favorite science fiction films, for sure, hands down.
Oh, which ones? Okay. Minority Report.
Yeah. See, this is where we get into the problem because I can't remember the names of the movies.
Oh, okay.
I have an actual like a 3-ring binder that I keep track of the movies. I do. I write down the name of the movies, when we watched it. It's got prompts in it, so it's like tells me.
Who you saw it with?
Seriously, I will forget. Yeah, all of that, because it has happened that my husband and I both love movies. And so, especially during the pandemic, but even before, because I had kids starting in 2007. So there was a while there where we weren't going to the theater at all. Every Saturday, that's our date night. We pick a movie. And I can tell you, it has happened more than once. We get 10 minutes into a movie and we go, oh my gosh, I think we watched this. And it's terrible. It's the worst. So, but yeah, Minority Report. And then there was another movie that it was like a time travel movie.
Oh my God, Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Edge of Tomorrow, where the groundhogs, where he's flipping back and forth through time.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I mean, if there's anybody out there that hasn't seen Edge of Tomorrow, again, one of the best groundhog movies I've ever seen. Where the loop repeats.
Yes, with the loop. Yes, yeah. Because that can get tedious. You have to do it properly.
Yeah, that movie nailed it. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
RunPee is especially helpful for the MCU, for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for people that aren't nerds, super nerds. Yeah, because especially with the anything after, I am always shocked when an MCU movie ends and people get up. Y'all, where are you going? Like, we know there's going to be something.
I know. Well, people are, like I said, people are pretty well trained, but they left after the first one. Like, okay, whatever, you're lost.
I mean, I know I've told people. I've had that experience that you had leaving King Kong and wanting to tell people like stuff. I've had that. I've been like, sit down, there's more, because it's like, I don't see, you sat through this whole movie and all of that, and you're not going to stay for what might arguably be the best thing. And then the thing that everybody will be talking about. And so you're not going to be able to experience it firsthand, not knowing what it is. It's almost, you have to see it right then and there. Otherwise, you're hearing about it secondhand. I know for myself, I sometimes stay off of social media after something that I have really been looking forward to has just come out, like every week with The Mandalorian, because it's like, I don't want to know. And then I'll forget and log into Twitter and go, oh, crap.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, the good thing for us is we are seeing movies on opening night.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of that. But we also see a lot of movie trailers.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I could go my whole life with never seeing a movie trailer again.
I am not a big movie trailer person either. So like, unless it's something, like when the new Star Wars movies were coming out, when, with all the Lord of the Rings movies, like for sure, I was so nerdy with the Lord of the Rings that I knew the movies that were coming out, that the trailer was going to be ahead of that movie.
Right.
And even if it wasn't something I was super interested in seeing, I went and saw that movie just so I could see the trailer. I mean, now they're everywhere, so you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah. And see, that's also different because I'm guessing you've read the book. So there wasn't any spoilers in the trailers.
I have read the book, and of course I have to tell you that I read the book because I read the book. But yeah, and Dune also.
Oh, we can be friends.
You're not going to save your A++ until
Oh my
Dune?
God, you're right. Oh, what have I done?
Oh no.
So yeah, Dune is my favorite science fiction book. I've read it maybe a dozen times. Yeah. definitely my favorite. And really super impressed with Denis Villeneuve. Man, Dune is really tough material. It could have been 3 movies easily.
I mean,
Yeah.
it could be a series. Thank you very much. It could be, on and on and on forever.
Well, it has been on Sci-Fi, and a pretty good one.
Yes. Yeah. That one wasn't bad. All right, Dan, I have to ask you a question.
We could go on for another hour talking about Dune now.
I know. Look, you get 2 Dune nerds together, and that's a whole podcast. I say, if I ever start another podcast, it'll be about Dune and bourbon, and that'll be the show. And we will go on for hundreds of episodes.
Well, so I guess for your listeners, we could probably say okay, when they start talking about Dune, that's the peetime for the podcast.
Maybe I should do peetimes for my show. That's hilarious. But we all have our favorite, bad movies, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's a bad movie. The David Lynch Dune.
No.
Literally one of my favorite movies ever. I love it. I love it so much, even though honestly, it's as far as how the book goes and the source material, it's kind of like a handshake. It's not really, it's close enough. It's fine. But the cast, amazing from beginning to end. The acting, it's beautiful. The music, the score, I love it. I've met a lot of people in my life who hate that movie, who hate it.
I'm not one of them.
Okay, good. All right. Then we really can be friends. But what is your movie that's like that? What is a movie that people don't like, but you absolutely love it, besides Dune?
I'm going to say the core.
Yeah.
My guilty pleasure genre is disaster movies. I'm a total science nerd, and I absolutely just ripped 65 to shreds because its science is abysmal. But it's bad for no good reason. The Core is a movie about scientists who have to go to the core of the Earth and restart it spinning. Long story short, right?
Yeah.
But I love it because the scientists are the heroes, and they're just average. They're not buff. They're not Chris Evans scientists. It's Aaron Eckhart and Stanley Tucci. It's these guys, and they're heroes and stuff. And it's I really loved it. Good tongue in cheek with the unobtainium. Anybody who craps on that movie because, oh my God, they went to the core. It's okay, yeah. And teleporting in Star Trek is realistic. I'm sorry. So my feeling on the matter is if you need something to make the story work, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
If you can't afford, because the transporter was introduced because they couldn't afford the prop to make the ship, to make the little landing cruiser, a landing shuttle. We're what can we do cheap? Oh, how about we just make them be there? Okay, that works. But if you need to do something to tell the story, you got to go to the core of the Earth. Sure, make up a material that gets stronger the more pressure it's under. That works. Because you need to go to the core of the Earth for the story to work. But if along the way they introduce, molten worms that live in the Earth, I'm kind of flashing back to Dune. So imagine some big molten Dune worm in the core of the Earth. It's okay, guys, that was ridiculous. You didn't need that to make the story interesting. When I really kind of get down on science fiction for messing up the science when they don't have to.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, Dan, we've come to the end, even though we could talk about this for many hours more. But I want you to...
We could make it a trilogy.
You know what? But I want to make sure, your app, I don't think is hard to find because it's called RunPee. But would you let everybody know where you can be found across the interwebs?
Yeah. Yes, I think the easiest way to get to the app is just go to RunPee, RunPee.com, and there's going to be 2 little buttons up there for iOS and Android, or you can just go to your app of choice, for the Play Store or iTunes and search for RunPee, and I guarantee it will show up.
Yep, nice and easy to find. That's one of the many things I love about it. Dan, I knew we would get along. Yeah. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come on my show and explain about your app and the genesis of it, which I've always wondered about. It has been so impactful for my life and so helpful to me personally, and I do tell people about it all of the time. So thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. That is our bread and butter, is fans sharing it with friends and family, people in line at the movie theater, people sitting next to them at the movie theater. That's, that's how we spread. We try to provide a good service, and we're here. If you have a problem with the app or a feature that you think that we could, make it better for you, let us know. It's your app. We're just managing it.
Oh, I love that. Thanks, Dan.
Hey, super listener. Thanks to Dan Gardner for sharing some behind-the-scenes information about RunPee. And, of course, for creating the app in the first place, because I love it. I encourage you to download RunPee and take a look around. And if you pop into the Discord server, you'll get even more information, including movie reviews. Links to a written transcript, everyone's social media handles, and more information on the topics we discussed is in the show notes and on my episode 132 page on aboutibd.com. You can follow me, Amber Tresca, across all social media as About IBD. Thanks for listening, and remember, until next time, I want you to know more about IBD. About IBD is a production of Mal and Tal Enterprises. It is written, produced, and directed by me, Amber Tresca. Mix and sound design is by Mac Cooney. Theme music is from Cooney Studio.
No, we're really good. Man, we could really... I think we could probably sit down and you can have a bourbon and we could go on for hours about movies.
Absolutely.